My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 45, and I used to think that stability was the same thing as safety. That if you built the right life with the right person, you could weather any storm. Turns out, sometimes, the storm lives in your house. I was sitting at my desk in our Denver home when the video message came through. The name on my screen lit up. Claire, my wife of 12 years. She'd flown to Seattle 2 days prior to visit her sick aunt. She looked radiant on the video. New hairstyle, a silk blouse I'd never seen before. Behind her, a glass of wine sparkled next to what was very clearly not her aunt's tiny apartment, but a luxury hotel suite, the kind with curated orchids and private terraces. "I'm with Daniel now," she said, with the kind of smile people rehearse in mirrors. "We've been seeing each other for months. You were always too focused on your boring spreadsheets to notice." She lifted her wrist to the camera, showing off a platinum bracelet I knew she hadn't bought with her own money. "This is just the beginning. I've already liquidated the joint savings. Daniel says it's time I start living." She giggled. "You should try it sometime." I stared at the screen for a long time after the video ended. No panic, no rage, just a kind of numb realization that I'd been right all along. Claire had changed. Or maybe I had just finally started seeing her clearly. I opened the folder on my laptop labeled Plan B. It wasn't new. I'd been compiling it for 7 months. Ever since Claire began spending more time at work retreats than at home. Ever since she started asking oddly specific questions about our retirement access codes and selling off furniture under the excuse of minimalism. She thought I was just a data analyst. And she was technically right. I analyze patterns, anomalies, outliers. But she forgot that I was also an obsessive. I noticed when $200 disappeared here, $400 there. I noticed when she started using cash again. When the name Daniel started showing up on calendar entries she thought were hidden. The joint savings account had $362,000 when I last checked. I knew Claire thought it was all still sitting there, waiting to fund her new romance and beachside escapes. She didn't know I'd moved 80% of it months ago. She didn't know about the decoy account. So when she told me she'd liquidated everything, I almost laughed. I texted back one sentence. "Enjoy Santorini." The truth is, Claire was always chasing fantasy. She sold it to me in the early days, too. The whirlwind romance, the sudden engagement, the "we're meant to be" speeches whispered at 2 a.m. And I bought it. We married within 6 months of meeting. I gave up my quiet single life for her chaos, her passion, her vision of a big life. At first it worked. She was brilliant in social settings, got me better clients, bigger contracts. She handled the sparkle while I handled the numbers. But somewhere along the way, sparkle became secrecy. Love became leverage. I closed the video, took a long sip of cold coffee. Then I did what I'd prepared to do for months. I clicked into the back end of the digital shell companies I'd formed last year. Claire had signed off on them. Just tax protection, I'd said. She hadn't read a single document. Never asked. Her attention span for anything financial was shorter than a TikTok. Within 3 minutes, I'd frozen the decoy accounts, transferred the bulk of our assets to my secure trust under the name of Carter Holdings. By the time Claire would realize what she'd liquidated was a dummy account with $24,000 in it, most of it unspendable due to flagged transactions, it would be far too late. There's a particular kind of satisfaction in watching a liar walk into a trap They think they've laid for you. I walked to the window and looked out at the backyard Claire had once filled with string lights and expensive outdoor furniture. It was mostly empty now, sold off piece by piece on Facebook Marketplace while I was supposedly too busy working to care. I didn't care anymore. Not about the patio, not about the bracelet, not even about Daniel. Because this wasn't just revenge. This was reclamation. And it had only just begun. 2 days passed. Claire hadn't replied. Not to my text. Not to the freeze notice her bank would have sent when she tried to transfer the rest of the money to that mysterious Santorini account. I imagined her expression when she saw the alert. This transaction cannot be completed. Funds unavailable. I didn't smile. Not yet. I knew better than to celebrate early. People like Claire don't go down quietly. They pivot, they charm, they threaten, they cry. I was ready for all of it. The first sign came in the form of a voicemail at 1:13 a.m. I didn't answer, but I played it. Her voice was tight, controlled, fake calm. Hey, Ethan. I think there's been some kind of mistake with the bank. I'm sure you didn't mean to freeze the account. Let's just talk. No lawyers. Just you and me, okay? I forwarded the message to my attorney. Then I poured a drink and opened the shared drive I kept encrypted on a secure USB. Inside were PDFs, spreadsheets, screenshots, everything I'd been quietly collecting over the last 7 months. Claire thought she was the only one planning an exit. She wasn't. 7 months ago, I discovered a hotel charge from a place in Aspen. Claire had told me she was at a yoga retreat in Santa Fe. I called the Aspen Hotel, pretending to be a billing specialist, confirmed the room, confirmed it was booked for 2. That was the beginning. From there, it was dinners charged to her work card in cities she wasn't supposed to be in. Uber receipts with drop-offs at strange apartment buildings. Subscription deliveries to an address in Boulder. I created a profile for her life she didn't know I could see. Mapped out every lie. Labeled every inconsistency. And Daniel? He wasn't new. A background search revealed he worked as a consultant in financial automation. His last job ended in arbitration after he was accused of coercing a client into signing over account access. No charges were filed. The woman refused to testify. But the pattern was there. Claire had no idea she was the second act in someone else's playbook. So when she laughed into that video message, thinking she'd finally taken everything from me, she didn't know I'd already taken everything that mattered. 3 days later, a courier arrived at my door. A thin envelope. Inside, divorce papers, filed by Claire. Signed boldly in that same looping signature she used on birthday cards and forged account forms. My attorney called 10 minutes later. It's a trap, he said flatly. She's hoping you'll panic and negotiate. Don't. We counterfile on Monday. And we did. Monday morning, I signed my name next to a motion for divorce, a request to freeze all joint marital assets, and a petition for exclusive ownership of the business accounts tied to Carter Holdings. Claire's name was nowhere on the documents. She had never asked, never read, never thought I'd need protecting from her. By Thursday, the legal ball was rolling fast. Claire had started texting again. Shorter now, sharper. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Daniel says we can fight this. It was Daniel now, not we, not me, not her. Daniel had taken over, and yet, not entirely. One message slipped through the cracks of their rehearsed strategy. A 2-second voice memo I almost didn't open. Just breathing. A quiet inhale. And one word, whispered like she hadn't meant to send it. Please. I didn't reply, because this wasn't just about Claire anymore. This was about control, about watching someone try to burn down your life and realizing, too late, you fireproofed it. I had moved our shared retirement into tiered trust accounts 6 months prior, structured under business codes, protected by staggered access authorizations. Claire's digital signature on any of them wouldn't pass a forensic scan, and I had the audit trail to prove it. Her forged withdrawals from the decoy account already flagged. The bank's internal fraud team had opened an investigation, and my lawyer said we'd likely see formal findings within weeks. Claire thought she'd drained $362,000. She'd taken $24,000. And every transaction over $5,000 was now locked in a fraud report tied to her full legal name. I'll admit something now. I never wanted this. I wanted a quiet life, a partner who didn't see love as leverage. I wanted Sunday pancakes and anniversary cards with dorky inside jokes. Instead, I got betrayal dressed as adventure. I got a woman who whispered forever, with fingers crossed behind her back. And I got Daniel. That Friday, as the sun set behind the mountains and the temperature dropped, I opened my laptop and did one more thing. I uploaded every piece of evidence into a private time-locked folder on a cloud server. The title, Claire Daniel Endgame, because I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was preparing for the moment they realized the empire they'd stolen was smoke. And when that happened, I didn't want to gloat. I just wanted to be ready. If you've stuck with this story so far, and you like this kind of psychological revenge drama, stories where betrayal gets what it deserves, go ahead and subscribe. I have more. Much more. Monday morning, Claire showed up at my office. That's when things got interesting. She stood in the lobby of my building, arms crossed, sunglasses hiding what I guessed were bloodshot eyes. Claire always dressed to win. Today, it wasn't working. The hair was too clean. The blazer too crisp. It looked like a costume. And I could tell. She was unraveling. I just want 5 minutes, she said. I nodded. 5. We walked in silence to the empty conference room. She took the seat closest to the window. I remained standing. I made a mistake, she began. I said nothing. She shifted. I didn't think it would get this far. Daniel said, I raised my hand. Stop saying his name. He's not part of this meeting. She blinked, caught off guard. Claire always expected me to be soft, reasonable, forgiving. But she hadn't realized that silence wasn't submission, that just because I hadn't fought her for attention didn't mean I wasn't preparing for war. You forged documents, I said calmly, attempted to liquidate protected marital assets, lied on withdrawal forms. That's not a mistake, Claire. That's a plan. Her jaw tensed. You hid money from me. I protected assets from misuse. There's a difference. You're punishing me for being unhappy. I almost laughed. You think this is about unhappiness? No, Claire. This is about consequences. You got caught. That's what's bothering you. She stood abruptly. You're so cold. You're acting like I'm a stranger. I looked her dead in the eyes. You are. She didn't have a response for that, just stormed out. The click of her heels echoing through the hallway like gunshots. I knew what came next. She'd escalate. That same afternoon, her attorney, some junior partner from a firm that cared more about optics than outcome, sent a list of demands. Joint asset redistribution, immediate release of frozen funds, ownership claims on Carter Holdings. My response? Silence. Instead, I met with someone I hadn't spoken to in 3 years, Maya Fields, a forensic cybersecurity expert I'd once worked with on a corporate espionage case. If anyone could dig deeper into Daniel, it was her. She didn't disappoint. 2 days later, I received an encrypted email with the subject line, Daniel Whitmore, pattern confirmed. It was worse than I imagined. 3 previous cases, 3 women, all mid-career professionals, all financially stable, all targeted through mutual business circles. Each one funneled money through subtle means, transfers, gifts, fake investment opportunities. Each one left in debt. None pressed charges. Until now. I forwarded the report to my attorney and sat back. The pieces were falling into place. Claire didn't just cheat. She partnered with a con artist. And whether she was complicit or just his latest victim, I didn't care anymore. The damage had been attempted, but the fallout would be hers to carry. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one sentence. You're finished here, Ethan. Walk away. I read it twice, then smiled. They were panicking. That's when I made the call to Raymond Castillo, corporate fraud attorney. Expensive, relentless, dangerous in a courtroom. He didn't ask why I was calling. He already knew. Ready to go nuclear? He asked. More like surgical, I said. We filed an emergency motion the next morning, an asset protection injunction. Locked down everything Claire could still touch. Even her personal checking account was now under review, pending fraud investigation. 2 hours later, I got an email from Claire's lawyer. Subject: This is unnecessary. I didn't even open it, because that afternoon, Claire returned. Not to my office, to my home. She banged on the door like someone owed her the world. I opened it without a word. You froze my personal account, she snapped. You forged a federal document, I said. Call it even. She pushed inside, uninvited. You're going to destroy me over this? You destroyed yourself. Her voice cracked. I didn't know Daniel was doing this to other women. You didn't ask. I believed him. I stared at her. I believed you. Silence. Then she said the one thing I hadn't expected. I want out. I raised an eyebrow. Out of what? Him. All of it. I want this to end. Just let me walk away. I considered her. For a moment, I saw the woman I'd once loved. The ambition, the fire, the fear behind her eyes. But then I remembered the video, the bracelet, the laughter. No, I said simply. You'd rather burn everything? I leaned in slightly. You already lit the match. I'm just watching the flames. She stared at me. Then quietly. This wasn't supposed to go this way. It never does. As she left, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not relief. Just inevitability. She had chosen her war. I had simply finished it. 3 days later, Daniel was fired. I knew because I made the call. Technically, it wasn't me. Just an anonymous email to his employer's compliance department. Included documented evidence of financial manipulation, misuse of client connections, and testimonial patterns from multiple women who'd fallen into the same trap. Companies like his don't care about morality, but they care about exposure. By Monday, his profile vanished from their team page. By Tuesday, his LinkedIn was deactivated. By Wednesday, I received a cease and desist letter from a Gmail address pretending to be legal counsel. I laughed, then forwarded it to my lawyer. They were spiraling. Claire's tone changed again. I started getting emails. Not rage, not threats, but desperation. Please just tell me what you want. I can't sleep. I think he used me too. I ignored them. But I wasn't done. The forensic report from Maya had uncovered more than Daniel's past. It had found something new. an offshore account in Belize, registered under a shell name, CAW Solutions, LTD. Guess who the signatories were? Claire Whitmore. Daniel Whitmore. He'd married her, in secret, 3 weeks before she filed divorce papers on me. A fake wedding. A real paper trail. And Claire, the ever-clever planner, had walked right into it. It took 3 clicks to forward the marriage certificate to the bank's fraud division. 2 more to attach it to our divorce case. 1 signature from my attorney to present it in court. Suddenly, Claire wasn't just a cheater. She was a co-conspirator in an international financial scheme. That changed everything. Her lawyer tried to stall, filed motions, claimed emotional instability, and temporary impairment of judgment. But the judge had seen enough. All joint assets, frozen. All withdrawals, denied. Claire was losing everything. That night, I sat in the quiet of my living room, staring at the flickering light of the fireplace. The house finally felt empty, but not lonely, just cleansed. My phone buzzed with a YouTube notification from a crime story channel I follow. Title: How a Wife and Her New Husband Tried to Steal $500,000 and Got Burned. Not my story, but it could have been. People love these tales of betrayal, you know, of the cheater thinking they're the mastermind, until they realize they're a footnote in someone else's playbook. And if you're the kind of person who enjoys those stories, true, fictional, or somewhere in between, go ahead and subscribe. I've lived one, and I'm not done telling them. That Thursday, Claire asked for a meeting. I said yes, not for her, for closure. We met at a neutral site, my lawyer's office. She looked wrecked, not just tired, collapsed inside herself. She clutched her coffee like it was medicine. Her hair wasn't brushed, no makeup, eyes swollen. She started speaking. I let her. I was stupid, she said, voice shaking. He told me we could be free, that we could build something together. I didn't interrupt. I didn't know he married me, not legally. It was some fast-track garbage wedding in Vegas, just enough to claim assets. I didn't even realize until I saw the filings. I nodded slowly. He played me, she whispered. So did you. She winced. I lost everything, she said. I have no access to accounts. I can't even afford an attorney now. He emptied my cards, blocked my number. He's gone. I tilted my head. Was that not the plan all along? She looked up. Her voice cracked. I didn't know how far he'd go. You didn't care how far you went. Silence. I'm sorry, she whispered. I stood. I believe you, but it changes nothing. I'll lose the house. You already did. I'll have nothing. You made your bed. He just pulled the sheets. She stared at me like I'd kicked her. But it wasn't anger. It was realization. For the first time, she understood. The game was over, and I'd already left the board. 2 weeks later, the judge issued the final ruling. All marital assets, including Carter Holdings and associated trusts, awarded solely to me. Claire's claims of co-ownership, rejected. Her forged documentation, submitted as evidence in a separate case. The Belize account, still under federal investigation. Daniel? Vanished. The last I heard, he'd tried to board a flight to the Caymans, got flagged at customs, held for questioning, detained on suspicion of cross-state fraud and identity manipulation. The fake marriage certificate didn't help. Neither did the testimonials from the 3 women before Claire, and the one after. Yes, there was another. She contacted my lawyer independently after the story began to unravel online. A junior architect from Miami. Same script, different city. Daniel was a predator, Claire, the perfect accomplice, or the perfect mark, maybe both. Claire didn't attend the final hearing. Her lawyer came alone, looked exhausted, handed over a closing statement scribbled in blue ink on loose paper. The judge didn't read it aloud. Afterward, I walked to the courthouse parking lot, loosened my tie, and stood under a tree. The sun was out. The wind was soft. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Andrea, the consultant I'd met months ago on a tech project. Smart, warm, real. Dinner tonight still? Absolutely, I replied. I drove home, passing the familiar turns of a city that had once felt like a cage. Now, it felt like a map I could redraw. At home, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic, just essentials. Laptop, charger, change of clothes. I wasn't running. I was moving forward. In my office, I pulled open a drawer and took out Claire's old photo, the one from Maui. We were smiling, believing, young enough to think good intentions could overcome bad habits. I placed it in a folder, filed it under past. Then I lit a single candle, sat back in my chair, and exhaled. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was calculating risk. I felt free. I checked my bank accounts, all intact. The trusts, the investments, the emergency fund. Claire thought she'd stolen my future. Daniel thought he'd stolen my security. They both forgot I built the system they tried to hijack. I received an alert from the fraud division. The investigation was complete. Formal charges were being filed. Claire was now a person of interest. I didn't celebrate, just sat there and smiled. Because in the end, they didn't just lose the money. They lost the illusion of power. And for people like them, that's the real bankruptcy. Everything they touched, gone. Every lie, exposed. Every move, countered. The empire, burned in 7 minutes.